Oke, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Yulianita Nur Sakinah. In this occasion, I will be a moderator for our first keynote speaker today, which is Miss Salma Hayatun Nufuz. Miss Salma will present about the baking industry. So, Miss Salma, are you ready?
Insyaallah.
All right, without any further ado, please welcome our first keynote speaker, Miss Salma. The floor is yours.
Okay, Miss Yuli, thank you for the opportunity. First, I will share the screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Hello everyone. So today I will present about the topic is the baking industry. So the first thing about the definition. For the definition, baking is the final step in making yeast leaven and chemical leaven product. It is a thermal process that uses an oven which transfers heat to the dough piece. The heat in turn activates a series of physicochemical chains responsible for transforming the raw dough into a baked good with a firm, dry crust and a soft crumb. So next, there are two types for the baking industry. The first is baking of yeast leaven baker product or dough-based system. So it means that yeast leaven product include most type of bread, baker yeast, the common name for the strain of yeast commonly used in baking bread and other bakery products, serving as a leaven agent which causes the bread to rise by converting the fermentable sugar present in the dough into carbon dioxide and ethanol. So the second step is baking of chemical leaven product. It means there are acid and base reaction which result in water, carbon dioxide gas. So chemical leaven is used to aerate the dough or better reading it like end product. The bubble created by the leavening expand during baking, creating the baked product crumb structure. Next, for the process. So in baking industry, the final structure to bake good is involves stimulate heat and mass transfer phenomena. The heat transfer from the surrounding air into the interior of the dough or better while moisture and other liquid compounds travel or escape from the core toward the exterior or surrounding air due to evaporation. While both yeast and chemical leaven can result in gas development and volume build-up is essential for the development of unique flavor in bread and some baked goods. So actually there are three-step process of the baking. There is formation and expansion of gas, killing of the yeast and other microorganism, and the last is crust formation on brewing. So here there are 6 steps about the process based on the temperature increase. So the first is formatting and expansion of gas. So in this process, the temperature is 35 until 70 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, this react is the maximum fermentation rate and produce carbon dioxide. After that, the carbon dioxide gas is burned from the saturated liquid phase into the surrounding gas cell, and also evaporation of the water and ethanol mixture. The second process is killing of yeast and other microorganisms. This process usually occurs at an internal temperature of 60 until 70 degrees Celsius, at which the cell can no longer contribute. The third is gelatinization of starch, so occur at 76 degrees Celsius. In this process of starch gelatinization and protein denaturation, the dough turned into bread and its structure is adjusted. The fourth is coagulation or denaturation of gluten. So for this process occur until temperature from 60 until 76 degrees Celsius. So protein begins to denature. As a result, gluten becomes harder and stiffer as it irreversible gas. The fifth is inactivation of enzyme in the dough. So inactivation of enzyme in the dough at 80 until 95 degrees Celsius. And the last is crust formation and brewing. So for this process, there are myriad brewing takes place above 105 degrees Celsius, and sugar become caramelized at 160 degrees Celsius. So that's why the bread or cake can become the light brown. Next, for the example, there are many examples of the baking. Here I put in 4. The first is bread. So for the bread is a staple food prepared from a dough of flour and water, usually by baking. Bread may be leavened and naturally according microorganisms. The second is cake. So for the cake is a form of sweet food made from flour, sugar, and other ingredients that is usually baked. In their oldest form, cake were modification of bread, but cake now cover a wide range of preparation that can be simple or elaborate, and that share tenor with other desserts such as a pastry, margarines, custard, and pies. The third is cookies. So what is cookies? Cookies are a baked treat. A cookies is a small sweet and also the taste is crispy or cake-like pastry, most often made with flour, sugar, liquid, and fat. There are 3 characteristics of cookies. The first is high sugar content. The second is high fat content, and the last is low moisture. And next, buns. So buns are usually made from dough of flour, sugar, milk, yeast, and butter. Sweet buns dough is distinguished from bread dough by being anchoring with sugar and butter and sometimes egg. Common sweet variety contains small fruit or nuts, and may be topped with it or caramel and filled with jam or cream. I think that's all for the baking industry.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Salma, for the great presentation. Now we come to the Q&A session. I will open 2 sessions. The first one for 3 questions and the second one for 2 questions. So I will start the first Q&A session. There are 3 slots. Okay, there are already 3 persons raised their hand. The first question will be from Ms. Nabila, please.
Okay, thank you, Miss Yuli, and also Miss Salma for the excellent presentations. Actually, Miss Salma, I want to ask, when I bake a bread. The bread looks like brownie and brown. Yeah, it's some the surface of the bread looks brown. May I know the reasons behind why this happens, and also the isi and what is the isi and of the bread also looks brown like that, Miss Salma. Thank you. Do you get the questions?
Yes, Miss Nabila.
Okay, thank you.
So, Miss Alma, do you want to answer it directly or keep it first?
I think let's keep it.
Okay, we can continue to the second question. Miss Valensa, please.
Thank you, Salma, for your great presentation, and thank you, Yuli, for the opportunity. So I'm curious, what happens if you don't use yeast in baking? So that's all for my question. Thank you. You got the question?
Pardon,
Okay. So my question is, what happens if you don't use yeast in baking? Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes, boleh.
Thank you, Miss Salma.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question for the first session, Miss Sofa, please.
All right, thank you, moderator. And I want to appreciate for Salma a great presentation. But I want to ask about the type of the making bread. There are chemical type, so that use acid and base. So what is the kind of acid or base? Thank you.
Okay.
Miss Alma, do you need time for preparing the answer?
Yes, Miss Yuli.
Around 5 minutes, is it enough?
Yes, it is enough.
Okay, but if you have finished, you can directly answer.
Okay. Miss Yuli, may I answer?
Yes, sure.
Okay, first I will answer the Miss Nabila's question. So the question is why, what the reason of the bread or baking is make a brown. So that's why what I read, food contains protein and carbohydrate. Is there are chemical reaction between amino acid and of a protein and reducing sugar of carbohydrate occur called Maillard reaction, which give a caramelized brown color and a significant flavor to toast bread. It's clear, Miss Nambla?
It's very clear, Miss Salma. Thank you. New
Okay.
insight.
So for the second question from Miss Valenza's question. So what happens if we don't use yeast in the baking? That's what I know. If we don't use yeast, the process of the bread is slowly, or the bread may be like bunted like this. If we don't use, it's clear. Okay.
All right, thank you, Miss Salma. That's clear.
Okay, for the third question is from Miss Sofa's question. So the question is, what kind of acid and base in chemical leaven? So for the base in a chemical leaven, there are three base. The first is sodium bicarbonate or baking soda. So it make the bread or cookies or other is make a sweet taste. The second is the potassium bicarbonate. It make a low sodium cake. And the third is ammonium bicarbonate. So the ammonium bicarbonate is make the cake a moisture product. For the acid, there are fumaric acid, tartaric, and lactic for the acid. It is clear, Miss Sofa?
Yes, Miss, thank you.
Okay. Maybe.
All right, thank you, Miss Salma. 3 questions have already answered. So now I will start the second Q&A session, which is 2 last questions. For those who want to ask, please raise your hand. Okay, the 2 person that coming in my screen first previously, there are Miss Rizkia and Miss Fauzia. So Miss Rizkia first, please.
All right, thank you, Miss Yulianita, for the opportunity, and Miss Salma for the great presentation. I wanna ask to Miss Salma. So previously you stated about the denaturation, right? So I wanna ask, what is the denaturation and why the denaturation can be happen? So can you get my question?
Yes, Miss Rizkia.
All right, thank you, Miss Salma.
Miss Salma, do you want to keep it first again?
Yes, Miss.
All right, we can continue to the last question from Miss Fauzia, please.
For the opportunity and Salma for your great presentation. This I want to ask. This topic is really reminds me of my grandmother. She usually say that to my brother, don't don't eat that too much because there is banyak pingpong bekah like that. So I want to ask, is there really what will happen to our body if we consume it too much like that? Do you get my question?
May I repeat? So the question is, what will happen if we eat much
If we if
bread?
we consume like for example baking soda in our product too much like that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Miss Salma, I will give you time again for preparing the answer, but you can directly answer once you have finished.
Okay, thank you, Miss Yuli. Okay, I will answer from the riskiest question. So the question is, what is the meaning of the denaturation and what the causes in the denaturation? So denaturation Yeast means define the unfolding or breaking up of a protein, so modifying its standard three-dimensional structure. Proteins may be denatured by chemical action, heat, or agitation, causing a protein to unfold or in its polytype chains to become dissolved, typically leaving the molecule non-functional. Is it clear, Ms. Priscilla?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you for the answer.
Okay. So next, from the Ms. Puji's question, Pujia. So the question is, what happen if we consume product from baking soda? So if we consume too much for the baking soda, the body tries to conserve the balance of salt by drawing water into the digestive system. So the happen it will be diarrhea and vomiting. It is the question clear, Miss Fauzia?
Yes, Miss, thank you.
Okay, welcome. Maybe Miss Yuli can continue.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Salma. All questions from the Q&A session have already answered. Before we close the session, I will deliver the summary from Miss Salma's presentation. So baking is the final step in making yeast leaven. It is a thermal process that uses an oven which transfers heat to the dough pieces. There are several examples of baking industry such as bread, cake, cookies, and buns. And there are two types of baking industry, which are baking of yeast leaven bakery products or dough-based system and baking of chemically leavened products. And then from the Q&A session, browning in baking comes from chemical reaction from protein and carbohydrate. And if we don't use yeast in baking, so the bread will not expand. And there are several types of acid and base in baking industry, such as sodium bicarbonate, potassium bicarbonate, ammonium bicarbonate, lactic acid, and etc. And the naturation in baking is unfolding or breaking up of protein. So, Alhamdulillah, we have done the presentation. Thank you for our great keynote speaker and also the audience for your participation. I'm sorry if there are some mistakes. I will close the session. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.